Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts College Football Podcast, your ticket to all things college football. Are you looking to get your college football fix? Looking to get the latest news on your favorite school's team? Join us as we talk college football, from the national championship to college rivalries to bowl games to the Heisman Trophy to which conference is the best. We've got you covered for the Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC, and everything in between.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the GSMC College Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Danielle Clark. Thank you so much for joining me today on your Labor Day, whenever you're listening to this. If you're listening to this the day after Labor Day, 2 days after Labor Day, maybe a month after Labor Day, if you're listening to this on Labor Day, thank you so much for tuning in and supporting us here at GSMC. We appreciate it. I hope you're all having a great, healthy, and happy day. One filled with lots of joy. You're spending with friends and family, barbecuing, staying safe. Please stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy. It is a crazy time out there, and it honestly feels kind of weird to celebrate holidays like this during COVID and everything, but that's okay. I know personally it felt weird to celebrate like the 4th of July and my birthday and just everything in general. So stay safe, stay healthy, wear a mask, invest in some cute masks. Feels like we're going to be wearing these for like the rest of our lives. So could be kind of nice if you all decide to wear a cute mask today, but not today. In general, I know my friends are all going to be wearing like Star Spangled Bannered masks, which will be definitely interesting, cute pictures, I guess. But thank you once again for tuning in. I'm recording this a bit early, as I have been doing. Obviously, next week when football starts, I will be recording these probably on Tuesday and Sunday, just so we can have up-to-date info and everything. But for now, I'm recording this a little early because it is Labor Day this weekend. I have sorority recruitment commitments with my sorority. Obviously, I'm an Alpha Chi Omega at the University of Colorado Boulder. Go Buffs, LITB, if anyone here is an ACHIO. Sisters, I'm a senior. And it's my last recruitment, so I'm helping out a little with that. I'm not really doing much because it is my last recruitment, and I do have other commitments. And also, it is Labor Day, and I will not be on my computer. I'm going out of town, socially distanced, of course. I'm just, me and a few of my friends went to like a little Airbnb, and we're just going to go to the beach and stuff. So social distance, only the 4 of us are going to see each other, don't worry. But yeah, I'm just not going to have my computer with me. I don't want to lug like all my recording equipment as well. So we're getting this done a little early. Hope you guys don't mind. As always, I want to say that because this is being done a little earlier, if any news breaks that is like very important to this podcast, like it did literally yesterday morning after I recorded, please know that I'm sorry. I am recording early just because I do have other commitments in life, and I have things to do, places to see, people to, I don't know what I'm saying, but I want to give this the best effort that I can as well, because I do truly enjoy this, and I want to make it the best possible podcast that it can be, and I know that I don't rush it or anything, so yeah. But once again, if news breaks, say like the world explodes on Sunday, and I don't record that, then you will know. But yes, we have a very exciting show for you today. Once again, happy Labor Day. Hope you're all having a fantastic Monday. I love Mondays. I feel like I'm one of the only people that does that. I don't like Sundays. I truly get the worst Sunday scaries. I feel like, I forget who I was listening to. I was listening to another podcast, and it's like Sunday scaries when you're in your early 20s are terrifying, especially like when you're in college and working. Because like if you guys did not know, I usually record this podcast on Tuesdays and Fridays so that I fully have my weekend free, because my friends all work, we're all in school, like whatever. So it's like the weekends are like our time together. But the Sunday scaries hit like Sunday night. I just lay in bed with like so much anxiety and fear for like the upcoming week for no reason. Like I could literally have nothing to do that week, and I would just be so stressed about whatever I had to do. So Sunday scaries hitting a little different, I guess, but yeah, I love Mondays. They're such a great start to the week. I always make sure to get up super early on Mondays and like do some laundry, do the dishes. I mean, I always do the dishes, but you know what I mean. Just make it a good day. I also just ate what feels like an entire like family size of 8 worth of pita chips and this like sriracha dip. So I'm feeling a little bloated right now, people, but that's okay. So we have a very exciting show for you today. First up, we are going to talk about some news that we have. News. We're going to talk about more social justice things that are going on in the world. We're going to go over the AP Top 25 because I realized I never really went over that. And we are also going to get into the top 10 biggest storylines to follow this season. And then for the third segment, we're going to do a breakdown on football in the time of Corona. I saw this headline that was like love in the time of Corona. I'm pretty sure it's a TV show on Hulu. So, football in the time of Corona. Who's with me? And then we're going to end it off with the top 10 best tailgate / TV watching foods, because I did a whole segment about best foods to eat at a game, but we're going to do one that you sit down and watch that on the TV, because a lot of these foods, like, you could technically eat at a game, but it would not be practical. So let's kick it off with some news. I was a little upset about this because, like I said, I recorded a little early, and news always seems to break. Maybe that's my lesson, but Jamie Newman, the transfer quarterback who was expected to start for the University of Georgia Bulldogs this upcoming season, he has opted out of the season. It was reported on Wednesday. He released a statement, as well as Kirby Smart did, that he's opting out due to coronavirus concerns. I'm kind of annoyed because on Tuesday, I literally recorded a top 10 list, and he was on that list, and now he's not, so it's a lot dated, guys. I'm sorry about that, but he is opting out to prepare for the NFL draft over coronavirus concerns, which we will get into it later in this segment, because our news report broke a few hours ago about the state of the Big Ten's thoughts on coronavirus and some news that came out there, which is very scary and anxiety-provoking. But yeah, he's opting out over coronavirus concerns. I honestly do not blame him. I think I've realized over the past few weeks, especially in my own personal life, that I have a lot of fear starting this virus, and I have not been personally affected by it. I do not know anyone that has, but it just gives me a lot of anxiety, and I know if I was in their position, like, I would be opting out. And again, I'm not in their position. I'm not a college football athlete. I'm not a projected first-round draft pick in the NFL draft. I have no idea what that's like. But speaking from my own anxiety, like, I know I am very stressed out about this right now, and that is coming from someone who is socially distanced, living by themselves, seeing, like, the same 3 to 4 people, wearing masks wherever they go, taking it super seriously, all the precautions, and I'm stressed out. So I can't imagine what it's like to have to play a sport right now and be in those environments. So he was expected to start the season, like I said, for the Georgia Bulldogs. He announced Wednesday on social media. He is ranked number 6 in the latest potential rankings by ESPN NFL draft analyst Todd McShay, and he will be preparing for the 2021 NFL draft. He transferred from Florida State. He was a Florida State Deacon Demon. I believe that is their mascot. He was a Florida State Deacon Demon. He will leave without ever playing a game for the Bulldogs. He said in a statement, "I would like to thank Coach Kirby Smart for extending the opportunity for me to be part of the University of Georgia football program," Newman said on Twitter. "Although my time has been short, I've built some great relationships, and I've had a chance to continue my development." USC transfer quarterback JT Daniels, who joined Georgia in May and received an NCAA waiver to play this season, has become the favorite to replace 3-year starter Jake Fromm, who is now a rookie with the Buffalo Bills. So, yes, we kind of been talking about along the Georgia quarterback offseason battle between Newman and Daniels. Basically got decided, I would say, mid-July that it was going to be Newman. And then Newman opted out, obviously. It's not like they have no option at quarterback, obviously. Where was I going? I lost my train of thought. Obviously, Daniels is not completely incompetent. He played for the USC Trojans, Gatorade Player of the Year. I saw him play live, so we will get more into him as the season comes along. But, yes. Newman started 16 games for Wake Forest the previous 2 seasons. In 2019, he completed 60.9% of his passing attempts, for 2,868 yards with 26 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. He added 574 rushing yards with 6 more scores. "While we'll miss him being a part of the program, I fully support Jamie's decision and will continue to regard him as a Georgia Bulldog," Smart said in a statement. "We certainly wish him nothing but the best in his quest for an NFL career, and he knows he will always have a home at UGA." Again, this was Kirby Smart. He said in a statement. The other quarterbacks on their roster are senior Bennett, redshirt freshman DeJuan Mathis and freshman Carson Beck. So, kind of a slow news week. This is really the big news to come out until a few hours ago, which we'll get into. But I guess that makes sense. College football is literally starting tonight, as I talked about last episode. So, very exciting things to look out for there. But yes, Jamie Newman has opted out of the season. So, as I mentioned kind of at the top of the show, I want to get into some social movements that are going on in our country. I talked about this last week, and I'm very passionate about it still. And last night in one of my classes I'm taking sports writing. Robert Klumko of the Washington Post, who is also formerly of USA Today and Sports Illustrated, hopped on the call, and he was the one who reported the SEC player call a few weeks ago, discussing the fears that people have. With regards to COVID-19 that players have, and he spoke to us about that call and about the social movements going on in college football as well as the world. He is currently in Kenosha, Wisconsin, covering the Jacob Blake shooting and the protests that are going there. Yesterday, so Wednesday, Donald Trump was there. In a few days, Joe Biden will be there. Very interesting time. So we got to speak to him in my class, which was pretty dang cool, I'm not going to lie, especially as an up-and-coming journalist. It was very exciting to see it was very exciting to hear from someone who is so well respected in the industry. Klumko is like one of the first football writers I ever followed on Twitter. He's such a talented writer, so like well knowledgeable. He's more into investigative journalism now, and it's just really interesting to hear about his perspective. So it would be irresponsible for me as a journalist not to discuss what is going on in football, not discuss what is going on, because what's going on with racial injustice is too serious not to discuss, if we're being honest. Because obviously this is a college football podcast, and obviously this is a podcast where we talk about college football and top 25 lists and who's the best wide receiver in the Big 12. But at the end of the day, the social movements that are going on in our country are incredibly important, and they're something that we frankly need to talk about more. And I always felt like I couldn't, because I've said this, I'm a white woman from San Diego, California. I do not know the first thing about, I have never experienced depression. I've never experienced racism. I've never experienced any of that whatsoever. I'm the last person to give advice to someone on how to handle that, because the most I can do is be an ally, and I can support them, and I can donate money and do my research. And again, I've never been someone that likes performative activism. You can ask my friends. When the Black Lives Matter movement began, or really took a head back in June, I donated money privately. I never posted about it on social media. I have nothing against people that do post about it on social media. It's just something that I choose not to do, because I don't want to seem like I posted something just to show that I'm an ally and that I care, because I truly do care. And I personally noticed a lot of people that did that stopped caring about it like a week later. And so, again, that's just my perspective on it and everything. If you did post about it, and you did donate money, that's awesome. The fact people donate money is awesome. It's just more that I don't like performative activism for myself. So I am the last person to speak on how. Sorry, I have a baseball game on right now. It looks like they have the Washington Capitals hockey team. That's funny. In the stands, like the cardboard cutouts. But as I was saying, I'm the last person to speak on this. I'm the last person to give advice, because again, I can be an ally. I do my research. I support them in any way I can. And at the end of the day, this is more than a 2-month movement. This is something that should have happened years ago, honestly. I think that I was naive, and I really thought that our country was changing. I truly thought that in 2015, I believe it was, when Trayvon Martin was shot, or when that event occurred, I was shocked. I think I was 15 or 16, and I was like, how could this happen? Like, what happened to segregation? Like, we ended that, slavery, and that was so naive of me, because racism really is a problem we still have in our country to this day. And if you don't believe that, or if you don't want to look at the facts, then that's your opinion. But I disagree with your opinion. Racism is still very alive and strong, and I see it in every day-to-day life, if we're being honest. I can look at it from a Greek life perspective and talk about how I have experienced my friends who are people of color in Greek life being oppressed and being called racist names by other members of Greek life, and that's honestly sad. But yeah, racism is a huge problem in this country, and it would be irresponsible of me as a journalist to not discuss what's going on in the world because, again, this is a football podcast, but there are also things to talk about. So I spoke with Robert Kumko in my class. They talked about this report that he gave a few weeks ago about a leaked phone call between the SEC touching on the fear that players had about coronavirus. I thought was really interesting that he talked about was he said what was most frightening about the call was that you could hear the concern in players' voices after being told everything was going to be fine. And the call kind of showcased that players' voices really were not being heard, which is just like sad and scary to think about, honestly, because these players have such a platform, such a movement, and their fears and their concerns about a really serious virus are not being heard. And I believe a week later, the We Are United, #We Are United movement from Pac-12 players was announced. I believe this was either the day after or the next week after, very soon after. Excuse me on that. But this report kind of spurred that, and it also made people realize that this was like the SEC. These players were not the only ones with fears. There are thousands of players who are fearing this right now, and to think anything less of that would be just irresponsible and honestly just like scary, I guess. But so where can we go from here with racial injustice we have in our country? With regards to college football, it'll be very, very interesting to see this season how they handle that, how they touch upon that. I also think it's very important, especially in this election year. We are going through a presidential election that many see as one of the most important ones in our history. And if you register to vote, people, like, go out and vote. If you're not voting, I feel like that says something, not about you, or, well, take that with what you will, but go out and vote. Please register to vote. I believe I have asked permission from my teachers to have November 3rd off from class so I can vote. But yes, so with regards to social injustice in college football, will players be allowed to wear Black Lives Matter movements shirts during the season? We see often in the NBA and sometimes in the NFL, but the NFL is way more strict when it comes to them promoting causes. Will they be allowed to warm up in Black Lives Matter shirts? Will we see players kneeling during the national anthem and the debate of the national anthem? It was really interesting. I was talking to a person in my life who is from a very different area than I'm from, I'll put it that way, and he has the same views as me, but he was talking about how his family, because of where he grew up, has different views than him, and kind of telling me from their perspective what they think of kneeling. And he was like, I disagree with them, but this is what they think. And I think that's the main issue we have today. Not one of the main issues, but it's definitely an issue we have where people aren't willing to hear the other side, because while I disagree with that person's perspective of why people are kneeling and how in their eyes it is offensive to the nation and the flag, I see it as against police brutality and racial injustice. And I listened and I said, I disagree with you, but, like, thank you for sharing your point. I think that's a huge thing, is not many people are willing to say, like, I disagree, but I respect, like, I thank you for telling me your opinion. No one's willing to listen. It's either all or nothing, and you can't listen to anyone's opinion. And I'm, like, that's just how it is nowadays, which is kind of sad. Even people I know in my personal life who might have different views than I do, most of them aren't willing to, like, listen to you and talk about it, because I think that's a huge thing, just having a conversation about this. Because if you are people who don't agree with me or agree with your perspectives, like I'm talking to you, the listener, right now, just listening to people is a huge thing, because then there's not, I mean, like, I'm, again, coming from my perspective of a 21-year-old in San Diego, California, but when people have different views than me and we talk about it, it usually ends in a conversation about, I disagree with you, but thank you for telling me your perspective and thank you for listening to me. And I feel like just helping see what the other person is, like, I might disagree and I might, like, be like, what the heck are you talking about? But I'm going on a tangent now, people. Anyways, will we see players kneeling this season? I believe we probably will. Especially players that in this offseason have been very vocal. This very turbulent offseason as well. They've been very vocal about the Black Lives Matter movement. Will players opt out over racial injustice? This was kind of a question that I was considering. But will we have players opt out over racial injustice? We saw in the NBA that players definitely wanted to cancel the postseason. They wanted to leave because they were so upset about what was going on in the world. They were so sad and mad and angry. And I feel like if we have another incident like the Jacob Blake or the George Floyd or the Breonna Taylor, horrific, like, racism that we've experienced the past few months, not we, but the Black community has experienced the last few months in America. I definitely think we could see players opt out over that. I think it would take a lot because also these players are not being paid and their scholarships could easily be revoked. That would get into the clause of, well, like, can they keep their scholarship? Can they have another year of eligibility? What if halfway through the season they opt out because of it? There's a lot of concerns and like technical logistics that go into that. And also the NFL announced today that November 3rd will be a mandated day off so players can go out and vote. And will college football do that? I hope they will. I really hope that at least if it's not like a mandated rule by the NCAA or something, that teams will give players the option to go out and vote or give them a lunch break to go out, like just give them time to vote because it's so important in my opinion. And so, yeah. But, where was I going with this? So how can we give players more of a voice? I think giving players more of a voice is very important. We cannot silence them. That's a big thing, is that not silencing the players, because they have a platform. Even if you're a smaller player that no one knows about, you still have a platform. You still have people to look up to you. You have people in your hometown that know about you. We need to give the students on campus a voice. We give the students on campus a voice, so why don't we give athletes a voice? They have a platform, as I've said. Many of them are verified on Instagram, many of them are verified on Twitter, many of them have hundreds of thousands of followers. I believe Trevor Lawrence has over 500,000 followers, or he has at least over 250,000 followers. He definitely has people that are impressionable, and so give them an opportunity to use it. Let them go and speak around their campus for free. If they want to raise money, let them. I know this is a huge thing that came up this offseason with Trevor Lawrence and him and his girlfriend trying to raise money for coronavirus efforts, and it rubbed the NCAA the wrong way, and there was this huge issue with it. I can understand why the NCAA would have issue with that, but also they're not keeping the money. They're not earning the money for themselves. All this money is directly going to an organization that needs it. So let them raise money. Even if you don't let them start the GoFundMe page, let them help out at a fundraiser of some sort. Obviously, social distance during these times. But and don't silence them, especially during an election year where so many of them have an opinion, and it often feels like they can't say their opinion because of their position with the school, and they don't want to anger the donors and the people that are funding their scholarships and the fans. That's a huge thing. I've talked to some members of the football team about it. Boulder is feeling like they can't speak up because what if their opinion rubs a donor or someone who is giving them their scholarship money wrong? So that's a huge thing. In an election year, we truly need their voice more than ever, which is kind of crazy. And I've seen at Boulder, again, I'm going back to that, but they posted a Black Lives Matter, pro Black Lives Matter post a few days ago, and the comment section on there was kind of just sad. I got really upset looking at it because it was all these people calling Boulder and these players racist for taking a stand against racism, because the gist of the comments was saying that CU was being racist for allowing these players to stand up for what they believe in and end racial injustice, which made me really sad. And the thing is about social justice movements and trying to make a change for the world, so that not everyone's going to agree with you. Not everyone is going to be happy. No, not every single person in the world. We will never fully be able to solve racism. We will never fully be able to have every single person in the United States, in the world, the 7.8 billion people we have in the world. We will never be able to look at them and have every single person say, I am not racist, and mean it. I am not racist. I don't believe in racism. And so you're not going to make everyone happy. Sadly, you're never going to be able to completely abolish racism. Obviously, as older generations die out, where the racism was very prevalent and strong, we'll be able to change the shift of the mindset of the younger generations, because really the younger generations are our future. So that's obviously something we can do, and I applaud CU for standing up for that, especially just with everything going on. I know Colorado has some issues of their own when it comes to racial injustice. And so, yes, you're not going to make everybody happy, sadly, like I said. Leading protests, speaking to classes, other students in the community, really making their voice heard. The NCAA truly cannot silence these players and these people from speaking their minds, being what they want and believe in. And and as Black players speaking out against the oppression they face and breaking the Black stereotype of Black athletes. I have personally heard across campus, I've heard many people in my personal life say things like, oh, well, if he's Black, he's on the basketball team, or if he's Black, he must be on the football team. I remember one time my friend saw this Black guy who wasn't on the football team, and she was like, a Black guy not on the football team? Like, that's wild. And I just kind of made me sad. I believe. And I definitely have heard some of that, and it's mostly said without a second thought, or without a second, like, was that racist thought? Because, like, it is a known fact that a majority of the athletes who play football and basketball are people of color. But having athletes help break the stereotype on campus is huge as well. And I also heard some people, I'm not going to name names again, but at parties and various situations, thankfully none of them were my friends or people in my personal life that I'm close with, that have outwardly called football players the N-word, which just makes me very uncomfortable and sad and angry, because as a white woman, that makes me angry. I cannot even imagine the pain that Black athletes go through on daily. Again, as a white woman, I know my place, but I can be an ally and make change. So again, having these players stand up for what they believe in, take charge, change the world, I guess. That was kind of a big tangent there. I'm sorry about that, but I'm very passionate about this, and I don't want this topic to continue to end when we go into the regular season and there's more stuff to talk about, and we're not just talking about hypotheticals here. I really want this to be an ongoing conversation on this podcast platform is about Black Lives Matter and ending racial injustice. But whew, you guys were coming on their tangent there. So coming up, we're going to look at some of the top 10 biggest storylines of this season, go over the AP poll as well. So stay tuned for that.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines. They got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And we are back. Welcome back to the College Football Podcast on the GSMC the GSMC Podcast Network. I am Danielle. We are back from our commercial break. But let's get into it. We have a very exciting segment coming up. Season is officially kicked off today. Oh, not today. There's a game today. We have the BYU Navy game tonight, but let's go over the AP Top 25 poll, because I never really touched upon that. It was during the week I took off due to moving and some family emergencies. So let's go over the Top 25 poll. I'm going to read it out to you guys. There definitely have been some changes as well, so we'll get into all of that. But Clemson was at number 1, Ohio State at number 2, Alabama at number 3, Georgia at number 4, Oklahoma at number 5, LSU at number 6, Penn State at number 7, Florida at number 8, Oregon at number 9, Notre Dame at number 10, Auburn at number 11, Wisconsin at number 12, Texas A&M at number 13, Texas at 14, Oklahoma State at 15, Michigan at 16, USC at 17, North Carolina at 18, Minnesota at 19, Cincinnati at 20, UCF 21, Utah 22, Iowa State 23, Iowa 24, and Tennessee 25. So as you heard there, 9 out of the 25 teams that were mentioned are not playing this season. Also, a report came out this morning that the Big Ten does not see themselves playing this fall. They reported that a October 10th start date is not possible. So teams that are not playing, obviously, because of opting out due to the coronavirus, are Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, Wisconsin, Michigan, USC, Minnesota, and Utah and Iowa. Very exciting. Not really. That's not exciting at all, actually. But, yeah, so 9 out of the 25 teams are not playing. Who will fill those slots up is something very interesting to see. And then what teams will move up will also be interesting to see. And this season is going to have an asterisk, and teams that normally wouldn't make the AP top 25, they definitely could make it this season, which is kind of a scary thing. I think the teams that were predicted were the normal teams: Clemson, Ohio State, Alabama, Oklahoma, LSU, Florida. Yeah, there's no one on this. There's no one on this schedule that I'm like, oh, that's unexpected. I feel like not Virginia, Tennessee maybe. They were 8-5 last season though, so it's not like they've never weren't good last year. But anyways, yes, that's the AP Top 25. Figured we should go over it before we get into the biggest storylines to follow this season. So we got 10 storylines. Let's get into it, people. So at number 1, we have coronavirus. It's Corona time. Do you guys remember at the beginning of quarantine on TikTok when there was that meme going around, like, it's Corona time? And I remember my parents were joking, like, oh, Corona sales, like, they're really hurting from this, but they really were. So sales will be going up for sure. There's no doubt about that. We'll get into that in the next segment as well. But see, Corona sales, I think will be going up in here, but they definitely will be, in my opinion. At number 2, will the season last? As I've said, I think that a bubble is very realistic, and a bubble is really the only way to make it work. We have seen with the NHL and the NBA that that's really the only efficient thing to do as well. The Bruins are out. Frowny face. It's true, they are. The season, will it last? I think it will. I've seemed pessimistic about it throughout this whole thing, in my opinion. I feel like when you listen to me, I want it to happen so badly, but I also am just very anxious about this, and I'm very anxious about excuse me. I'm also very anxious about this virus and everything. But honestly, that's just due to my anxiety. So I think the season will last. They will definitely find a way to make it last as well, because there's so much money involved, so much just everything. Yeah, so I think, honestly, we might have to do a bubble. I feel like that's just the only way we can do it. Like, I don't know. I haven't, like, with baseball's gotten better for sure, but I don't know. It's so weird, I guess. It's just, I feel like just a bubble makes so much sense, and we've seen with the NBA, it's proven so well. Same with the NHL, but, excuse me, I lost my train of thought there completely. I think this season will last, as I'll say in the next list at number 3. There will definitely be bye weeks, but the bye weeks will play into effect, and I'm sure there will be a handful of bye weeks that we do deal with, but I think the season will last. At number 3 on the top 10 biggest storylines to follow this season, we have how will bye weeks affect the schedule? So most conferences are scheduled for 9 or 10 games, but due to COVID, if we lose one of those games, say like a big game like Georgia, Alabama, how will it affect the playoffs? So if a bye game has to happen, or we have to lose a game because of COVID, like say Saturday night, it comes out that 40 players on Alabama's team have COVID, we'll obviously have to cancel the game. How will this affect the playoffs? It's an interesting question. I thought of to myself. I think that if, again, like we lose a big game and we don't get to see a big team like Alabama against one of the big teams they're set to play, like Alabama, LSU or something, I feel like we know what Alabama's going to be after 3 or 4 games. I'm using Alabama because I have them as an example on here. We will know what Alabama's going to be, but we like those big games to see how they stack up against bigger opponents, because it's very well known that the teams that are usually good usually run over their opponents and demolish them, and so I I think that losing one of the big games due to coronavirus will impact it severely. It'll make us consider a lot of things, but how will that affect the playoffs? I think the seeding might be different, is how I want to go about it. I think that if where am I going with this? Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. If a team like Georgia or Alabama has a big game canceled, that could take them from a 3 seed to a 4 seed in the playoffs, or that could take them from a 4 seed to out of the playoffs. It really depends. So will we look at games and teams differently this season? Maybe. I say maybe because I think that after the first few games, we will know who the good teams are. This sounds bad to say, but going into the season, we already have the people we're projecting to make the playoffs. We already have the people that we're seeing as contenders. And I feel like with college football, as opposed to regular foot. What am I saying? College football as opposed to NFL football. There we go. I feel like NFL is less predictable. Nothing is a given in college football, of course. Nothing is set in stone. We don't know what's going to happen each season, but I feel like in college football, for the last few years at least, we've had the people that not always make it. We've had the usual suspects. We've had the people like the Clemsons, the Alabamas, the Ohio States. Obviously, Ohio State is not playing this season. Even teams like Wisconsin, we usually expect to be somewhat good. And will we look at them differently this season? And with regards to matchups and everything, I feel like we kind of know. Like I said, we kind of know what teams are going to make it. We kind of know which teams are not. But gosh, where's I going with this? Lost my train of thought there, guys. I'm sorry. Today is not my day. But we will look at games and teams differently this season for sure. They could also reschedule these matchups, these big matchups we could lose, because say the Big Ten starts their season at Thanksgiving, like was discussed. It sounds like that might not happen, but say they just discuss that and it happens. There's going to be, and they want, the Big Ten still wants to be involved in the college football playoffs, then the time between when the regular quote unquote season ends for these three conferences ends and the Big Ten is still playing, they could have time to play those matches that get postponed until COVID. So could they play up the makeup games that the Big Ten is playing so they don't get rusty? That's actually, I wrote that down. I'm like, that's a good point, Danielle. Having the makeup games be played while the Big Ten would be playing their Thanksgiving schedule. This is all hypothetical, of course, but will we look at this season differently? 100%. There's no doubt about that. That's number 4. There's no doubt about it, especially with no Big 12 and the Pac-12 and Big 10. Excuse me. We might have the Big 10. We won't have as many teams, obviously. The SEC, number 5 on this list, is SEC dominance with Alabama back. That's another big storyline to follow. Yes. You just have to look at the Nick Saban revenge factor. They didn't make it to the playoffs last year. They're going to be hungry. They're going to be thirsty to win and have a chance of success. So the revenge factor will most definitely be there. And yeah. At number 6 on our big storylines to follow this season, will Clemson continue their streak of power? They're most likely in Trevor Lawrence's final season, and if we know anything about Clemson and Dabo Swinney and Trevor Lawrence, it's that they want to prove they have what it takes. And also remember that it's Travis Etienne's last season. He did not declare for the NFL draft. He stayed back for his final season. So we have to remember that. But will Clemson continue its streak of dominance? Will Alabama come back with revenge? Yes, those are not givens, obviously, but those are definitely things to look out for. Number 7 we have is opt-outs throughout the year. I touched on this a little in the last segment, but we always see players go down with injury or something, but what if a player goes down with COVID and they are out for the year? Will that affect our eligibility? Will we look at a player getting COVID and having to be out for the rest of the year as the same way we look at a player tearing their ACL? Opt-outs throughout the season, though, there probably will be some. I think there's no doubt about that teams will opt out. Players will opt out, and they're just going to feel less comfortable. Again, I did not feel comfortable going back to school to be a regular student. I can't imagine how these players feel. So Could players keep their eligibility halfway through the season if they get sick or get COVID or something happens and they need to opt out? Again, I mean, it would go back to, do we look at this the same way that we look at a player potentially getting, do we look at this the same way as a player potentially tearing their ACL and being out for the season? Will we consider it the same way? Like, it kind of stinks, but, and also big players. What big players are going to opt out? That's a huge thing. Where was I? Excuse me. So will we see big players? There's no question about that. But yeah, opt-outs throughout the season. It's not the same as injury, but it's going to be interesting to see how the schools handle it. Obviously, in the offseason, they've talked about how if a player opts out due to COVID concerns, they can keep their scholarship, keep their eligibility. But will that be the same as half of the season? They've already started the season. That comes into play. So a lot of questions. But number 8 on this list is teams making an unexpected run. So there's no question about it that every single year in college football, there's usually one or two teams that makes an unexpected run that truly no one sees coming, that people are kind of like, what the heck? Where'd that come from? So what teams will make an unexpected run? Florida, Oklahoma State, Baylor, Notre Dame. Again, 3 of those 4 teams were already ranked. Florida at number 8, Notre Dame at number 10, and Oklahoma State at number 15. These are not out of nowhere teams. They're obviously already ranked in the preseason AP top 25 for week 1. Excuse me. But it'll be interesting to see if they can jump up a spot, especially with Penn State and Ohio State, as well as Wisconsin. Sorry, I completely just fell out of my chair. As well as those teams not playing the season. So will teams like that make an unexpected run? And again, unexpected is subjective because these teams obviously are already kind of on the radar. They're already ranked high, but yeah. At number 9, we have the racial injustice, as touched upon in the last segment. I feel like I don't need to go over that too much because we already talked about it so much in these last 2 episodes, but how is racial injustice, how is social injustice going to impact the season? Are we going to see players take a stand? Are we going to see them stand up for what they believe in and put their foot down with regards to the NCAA? And at number 10, one of the big ones to look out for is the Heisman competition. So people seem to see Trevor Lawrence as the favorite for this season. There's no question about that. But how will COVID affect it? How is the coronavirus pandemic going to affect the way we look at these players and etc.? But COVID is definitely going to affect the Heisman race. There's no doubt about that. Spencer Rattler, Sam Ehlinger, and are the other 2 big quarterbacks to look out for with regards to this. But those are the top 10 things to look out for. That's on our top 10 list of the day, obviously. But coming up, we are going to touch on Let's go over the list again. At number 1, we have coronavirus and obviously that whole situation, which we'll get into in the next segment. At number 2, will the season last? At number 3, how will bye weeks affect the scheduling and how will we look at teams because of these bye weeks? At number 4, will the season look different? At number 5, SEC dominance with Alabama back. At number 6, will Clemson continue their streak of power? At number 7, opt-outs throughout the year. At number 8, we have teams making an unexpected run. At number 9, we have racial injustice. And at number 10, we have the Heisman competition. So guys, coming up, we're going to touch all about coronavirus in the time of college football. So stay tuned for that.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Hello, and welcome back to the GSMC College Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Danielle is here once again, you guys. Thanks for coming back from that commercial break. We're going to get in on a fun little topic today. Football in the time of Corona. I saw this meme on Twitter. It was like Love in the Time of Corona. I'm convinced that is a show on Hulu or something, but football in the time of Corona. Surely never thought it would be something we would see happen, but here we are. Here we are, ladies and gents. But yeah, I feel like sports was never something I saw coming back when we had this. I mean, it's funny, I was always one of those people that was like, coronavirus is not going to last just 2 weeks. I feel like a lot of people were like, oh, this is going to be 2 weeks, then it'll be over. And it wasn't. So it's kind of funny that the fact that we look back now, we thought it was going to be so easy, so simple, like over in the blink of an eye, and it truly wasn't. But here we are, people. So I want to go over this health report that came up this morning from Penn State doctors, and it touches all upon coronavirus. Sorry, I'm going to the Maryland. There we go. So this morning, news came out from Penn State doctor Wayne Sebstanini. Sorry, Wayne. He's the Penn State director of athletic medicine. This came out this morning, about 2 hours ago. So new data helps illustrate why Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren might have meant when he described too much medical uncertainty and too many unknown health risks as a reason for postponing the Big Ten 20-21 fall sports season. But reports came out that detailed the medical concerns that are going into this and kind of the reason why they postponed the football season. So during a State College area school board of directors meeting on Monday night, the Penn State director of medical athletics, I cannot pronounce his last name, made some alarming comments about the link between COVID-19 and myocarditis, particularly in Big Ten athletes. Sebastini said that the cardiac MRI scans revealed that approximately a third of Big Ten athletes who tested positive for COVID-19 appeared to have myocarditis, an inflammation of the heart muscle that can be fatal if left unchecked. This new data helped illustrate what Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren might have meant as reasons for postponing the Big Ten's 2020-21 fall sports season, as too much medical uncertainty and too many unknown health risks. When we look at our COVID athletes in particular, whether they are symptomatic or not, 30 to 35% of their heart muscles were inflamed, and we really don't know what to do with that right now. It's still very early in the infection. Some of this has led to the Pac-12 and Big Ten decision to sort of put a hiatus on what is happening. So, yeah. We could have a very high-level athlete, could have a superior VO2 max and cardiac output, who gets infected with COVID and drops his or her VO2 max and cardiac output by just 10%, and that could make them go from elite status to average status. We just don't know that. We don't know how long that's going to last. We have seen on people talk. What we have seen with people who have been studying cardiac MRI scans is the level of inflammation in cardiac muscles is just alarming. That was very scary to read, in all honesty. When I opened that article this morning, I got the Bleacher Report notification, and I honestly got scared. I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Like, this is stuff that I've been hearing for such a long time, but never, like, fully grasped or understood. So, just honestly so scary to think about. But, yeah. That, gosh, scary. But who reads that and is like, yes, it is safe to play college football. Again, I want this season to happen so badly. I want this. I mean, literally, it's my internship. I want this so badly, but at the same time, I'm scared. I'm scared as someone who does not play college athletics, who does not play athletics in general, besides working out on a stationary bike 5 days a week. Like, I'm scared. Truly, I have no other way to put it. I'm sorry if that scares you. I'm scared. But who reads that and is like, yes, this season is safe. This season is a good time to play. So that was kind of big stuff that came out. And cases are rising at Boulder. I have said many times, I don't feel safe going back there. I'm honestly glad I didn't go back. I have a lot of FOMO with regards to seeing my friends hanging out and partying and having fun and feeling like I should be there for my final year. But I also know that I would genuinely be terrified if I was there right now, and I would constantly feel this FOMO of wanting to be out there and have fun, but also not wanting to contract the virus and not be safe and infect those around me. And again, this differs from state to state. I'm reading ahead, but with fans and stands as well at games, this differs from state to state. I hope not. I honestly don't think having fans in the stands is safe. I'm watching an MLB game, not watching what's on the TV, and I'm seeing the cardboard cutouts they have in the games. And that was, well, it's not the same thing. It's realistic enough, and it does feel like fans are there in some way. But no fans in stands. It does stink. So much of college football is the fan atmosphere. But it's just what we have to do. It's how we deal with it. So no fans in the stands. I definitely don't think that's out of the possibility. Also, you can look at the NBA, who implemented fan noise, and I think baseball's doing that as well. Also, I was reading that, like, while filming TV shows even nowadays, people are implementing, like, the VMAs happened last week, and they put in the laugh track, they put in the sound audio recording, they put in everything, and they made it happen. I mean, it kind of felt like as much of a live reality show as you could have. So fans and stands, I don't think we should have that, but we'll let it tell. And it differs from state to state, truly. Not to get political, but I'm getting political here. The areas that are open versus the areas that are closed right now. You look at the states that lean more red and are typically more in favor of reelecting our president versus states that are lean more blue and are in favor of hiring another presidential candidate. Those differ from the states that are open to the states that are closed. Also, as I touched upon last week, it angered a lot of people to know that President Donald Trump was tweeting about how disgraceful it is for the Big Ten not to be playing this season, when many of them were pointing out the fact there was a pandemic going on and he's not doing anything to stop it. So, something to think about, I guess. The cases in schools like Georgia, Clemson, Alabama, those states that are open still, are definitely rising, which is scary to think about. But honestly, schools are going to get shut down once the students' tuition checks go in, as sad as that sounds. I know many of my friends believe at the moment Boulder gets our tuition checks in, they're saying, all right, all kids online. Cause I'm so sorry, you guys, that got interrupted. My mom came in to say bye to me, even though I told her I was recording and she could hear me. But just the fun of living at home, I guess. But yeah, so I fully believe that Boulder is going to take our tuition checks the moment. I fully believe they're going to make us all go online fully the moment they get it. I know for many of my friends who are in similar majors to me, they're all online at this point, so it wouldn't surprise me. But yes, where was I going with that? So again, it differs from state to state on, like, fans in the stands. States that are having cases rise are typically more red states. Obviously, you can look at into, like, California. California is not doing too hot right now. Also, do you guys hear a man in California got the bubonic plague? That's a fun little tidbit for your Monday. Am I right, people? As a California resident, I'm not scared at all. But the Corona sales for tailgates, the Corona sales for tailgate beer is going to be through the roof this year. I mean, I can already imagine all the captions on Instagram being about Corona time. So that's something to look out for. But ratings will definitely be up for the games. I saw something to point out because of the fact there's going to be less of them. People are not going to have to choose between, like, 5 different games they want to watch. There's probably only, like, 2. Well, not probably, but there'll be less games, so ratings for certain networks will definitely go up. Like, networks like CBS Sports and ESPN2, the ratings will probably go down or up. It just depends. There's going to be less games, so ratings will go up for that, but there will be money lost as well. We've already touched upon the fact that this is a billion-dollar industry, and they rely so much on the money of the fans. So think of all the cool face masks people are going to wear during this. That's the thing. If fans are in stands, I really hope they implement face masks. I really hope they implement safety as much as possible, because safety is incredibly important. And I hope they sell cool face masks for free. People will now look forward to this season more than ever. I think of this also as people looking forward to The Bachelorette and The Bachelor, and how we're so excited for the season because we've been so deprived of it for so long, that we're all looking forward to this college football season more than ever. I know I am. I'm so excited. But also the racial injustice and the fact that COVID is affecting minorities more is huge. It's like that. And are schools doing enough to prevent it? Are schools doing enough to prevent this virus from spreading? Are they doing enough to prevent the fact that COVID does affect minorities more? That's something we don't want to admit. I don't want to admit that. I think it's sad that these minorities aren't getting as many opportunities for health and safety because of their skin color. But yeah. And CU sent us an email. I'm going to read it for you all about the rise in COVID cases that have come over the last few weeks. So our school's doing enough to prevent it. Like I've said, you're never going to stop these kids from partying. They're not wearing face masks when they go out. I already know that. I see so many freshmen posting things on their story about it. You are never going to... Excuse me. Sorry. You're never going to prevent kids from partying. So that's just something we have to remember. Sorry, I just got a big email. But here we go. So they're doing all these tests and everything. Cases are expected to rise in Boulder this upcoming week because kids are partying, especially recruitment is happening for girls. Just that's the thing is like you're never going to stop these kids from partying. And so once they get those tuition checks, people, like schools are going to be shutting down very quickly, in my opinion. But with all that being said, most schools will be shutting down, and it is Corona time. Like I said, I remember that meme at the beginning of quarantine. People are like, it's Corona time. It's Corona time. But anyways, yeah, so football during Corona season. It's interesting. It's unique. How's it gonna go? How is it gonna be, people? I'm worried. I'm scared. I definitely have anxiety. I get anxiety looking at baseball games where there are people, like 10 people out, and I'm just like, oh my god, I'm anxious. I feel like I look back at all these different events from the past year, like music festivals, old football games, and I think, wow, we really stood in these crowds of like 30,000 people and let that happen. We voluntarily did that, so just interesting to think about. But coming up, we're going to get into our top 10 best foods to have at your TV watching extravaganza for college football, so stick around.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And we are back, people, for our final segment of today. It's Labor Day. Happy Labor Day. I also feel like the foods I am mentioning in my top 10 list today could definitely be applicable to your Labor Day party. I know I have already requested for mine to have many of these foods. So if you are struggling to find a Labor Day food to bring to your party and you are short on time, maybe some of these foods are not your best option. But maybe some of them are. Let's get into it, people. At number 10, we have... Oh, I also want to say that I did a list like this for top 10 concession foods to have, and it was met with quite a bit of controversy. So this is, again, going to be controversial, but let's get into it, people. At number 10, we have fried pickles. What are fried pickles? They're pickles that are fried. How fun is that? Pickles. I love pickles. They're actually like one of my favorite foods in the entire world. Bread and butter pickles. Ooh, so good. I feel like I can never get enough of them, but... they're just yum. They're different as well. I feel like you could just be like, oh yeah, I brought fried pickles to my football watch party. Like, how fun would that be? Also, no one expects it. No one's really had them either. I feel like if you tell people to try a fried pickle, they'd be like, what? But then it could also be that thing where they're like, yeah, guys, I had a fried pickle yesterday. Just think of the endless options. It's a bragging, right, at this point. At number 9, we have nachos. So this was met with quite a bit of controversy in my personal life and in my work life because people were very upset that I disrespect nachos so much on my last list. And I just want to say to you guys, I was not disrespecting good nachos. I was disrespecting the ones with the bad cheese and the stale chips that you get at the games and you're just like, this is disgusting. those just, I mean, I have traumatic experiences of the hot cheese being spilled on me when I was 9 years old and literally wanting to cry and just die on the inside. It was so disgusting. I was repulsed. Truly was. So I was not disrespecting good nachos. Good nachos are one with jalapenos, with sour cream. It's like a 5-layer dip on a chip. They're fantastic. You pull them out of the oven, the cheese is crispy and melted. You're using real cheese, people. We're not using that liquid cheese of some sort. We're using the bagged shredded cheese that you get, that you just go, chef's kiss to that. Put some jalapenos on. Maybe some chicken, maybe some bacon. I've had them with sausage, some steak. Steak nachos are fantastic if you want to feel really bougie and like treat your guests. Those nachos are fantastic. They're number 9 on this list though, because in all honesty, like, you could do better. Like, nachos are just like, they were my lazy food growing up. They were the, what do I want to eat today? Well, I guess I'll have nachos. They were not the, let's impress people with my cooking skills. So you definitely could impress people with nachos. I mean, think of the options you could put on it, but they're an easy food. Fried pickles also, you would have to have a deep fryer at your house. So that's one you would buy, in my opinion. I mean, unless you just have a deep fryer at your house and you want to deep fry pickles, but yes. Nachos, easy to make, impressive, tasty. Everyone loves a good nacho too. At number 8, I also want to point out that none of these options are vegan or vegetarian. I think a few of them are vegetarian. You can make them vegetarian if you want, but yeah. At number 8, we have hot dogs. Once again, I roasted hot dogs in my top 10 tailgate or like concession foods list, and that was met with quite a bit of controversy. Once again, I'm talking about a good sausage, a good bratwurst. I'm not talking about the cheap hot dogs you buy at the store, or maybe I am. Just depends. I've never really been a hot dog gal. In all honesty, they've never floated my boat, tickled my pickle. Is that a thing? I don't think that's a thing. But you know what I mean. Sorry, I just got an email saying my tuition was due. That's exciting. But, yeah, pickles have just never pickled my hot dogs have never just tickled my boat. But after doing some research and talking to people, I realized that a lot of people love hot dogs. And a lot of people did not enjoy my disrespect of the beloved meat product. So I'm here to formally apologize for my hot dog slander that I had on this episode. At number 7, we have wings. Buffalo wings, you guys, so underrated. I don't think I can describe like how much I genuinely love buffalo wings. They're just amazing. They really are. They just truly iconic, amazing, mesmerizing, truly the best ever. I'm obsessed with them. I love them so much. But wings are just, they're so simple. They're very messy. They're not really a food that you can eat in like the football stadium because they're so messy that I just get the sauce everywhere. I don't feel good about myself. I'm like, oh, what am I eating? This is so gross of me. But I do love a good buffalo wing. Also, there's so many varieties. You can go barbecue. You can go buffalo. You can go regular. You can make them healthy by like grilling them. Can you grill wings? I'm not sure. But also just dip them in some ranch, some buffalo sauce. I know someone who dips their wings in ketchup, which is honestly disrespectful to me. And it's a little like, what are you doing? Like, are you okay, Jeff? Do we need to talk? His name's not Jeff. But yeah, wings at number 7, a classic. At number 6, we have good old kettle corn, guys. Kettle corn is the best. Truly, just such a good food, such a staple in our lives. We all need a good kettle corn to get us through the day, push us forward. My dad, the San Diego Fair this summer, had stands of the food because obviously the fair didn't happen. And so my dad would go and buy like pounds and pounds and pounds of kettle corn. And it was amazing. I loved it. I just really enjoyed having it with me at all times. So yeah. At number 5, we have pigs in a blanket. I love pigs in a blanket. It combines carbs. It combines hot dogs. Again, I guess I did have this growing up, so I think that counts as me having hot dogs, but I loved them. So good. The carbs just really just iconic, so delicious. And they're comforting. You just like grab your little plate of food, put some cheese on there, and a pig in a blanket, and you're good to go, people. And it's so nice and just comforting, honestly. But yeah. At number 4, we have mashed potatoes, guys. Mashed potatoes are the only Thanksgiving food I like, so of course they're the food I would put on here. But mashed potatoes are so delicious, so yummy. Just, my mom makes the best mashed potato, guys. There, I said it. I know it's going to cause controversy. I know people are going to be like, oh my gosh, like, you're lying. But no, my mom truly makes the best mashed potatoes. They're kind of healthier, too, which is super nice. But Mashed potatoes at number 4. There's also like not really a food that many people think to bring. They're a fall food, and when I think of fall, I think of football, so why not put a fall food in there? At number 3, we have artichoke dip and pita chips. I just ate like 20 pounds of pita chips, so I feel a little bloated right now, but that's okay. Pita chips are truly so delicious. I don't think I can describe like how delicious these foods are. An artichoke dip, a warm, cheesy artichoke dip, you guys. Well, chef's kiss to that. At number 3, also I want to say that artichoke is very controversial. You can do a spinach dip if you want here. But yes, at number 2, we have a cheese powder. This is definitely the fanciest option on this list. This is definitely an option that not many people would think to do. It's very fancy. I love doing cheese plates with my girls for girls' night. It's so much fun. It just makes us feel bougie, you know? You pour some wine out, we're like, all right, guys, like, here we go. We're having some cheese and wine tonight. And if you're with, like, a classy, I mean, not saying you're not classy, but if you're with people that, you know, don't want to do, like, a pigs in a blanket kind of vibe, you could just pull out some brie and some crackers and a baguette and some grapes and maybe a bottle of wine and be like, all right, people, we're going to sit down and watch the Clemson game tonight. And we're classy individuals. Not saying you guys are not classy. I'm just saying that cheese plates make me feel like I'm classy. Because I like to think I'm classy, but I also know in my day-to-day life I'm wearing workout clothes right now. Because I've told myself I'm going to work out all day, and I am going to after this. But, yeah. Cheese plates are also great. I mean, you get your protein option in. You can make them vegetarian. You can make them vegan. Just so many options. At number 1. Okay, let's review the list, you guys. Let's review the list. At number 10, we have fried pickles. At number 9, we have nachos. Good nachos, not the bad nachos. At number 8, we have hot dogs. At number 7, we have buffalo wings, chicken wings. I just put wings there, you know, make it as unspecific or as specific if you want. At number 6, we have kettle corn because popcorn is boring. Kettle corn is just fantastic. At number 5, we have pigs in a blanket. At number 4, we have mashed potatoes. At number 3, we have artichoke dip and pita chips. At number 2, we have a cheese platter. And at number 1, we have buffalo chicken dip. Guys, buffalo chicken dip is so good. I had it for the first time on the 4th of July, and it honestly changed my mind. I've never felt so just like, it was delicious. It was not healthy by any means. There was no part of me that felt good about myself eating it, but it was so good. And you put some like pita crackers with it or like some tortilla chips even. Oh, and you get that melty, crispy cheese on top. Ooh. Ooh, and then like when it comes fresh out of the oven, you smell the buffalo. Oh, guys, it's so good. I'm literally going to cry thinking about how good it is right now. But that is our top 10 foods for today. If you cannot see me, I'm doing some like hand motions because someone is waving at me. But yes, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Once again, a little bit of a shorter episode. I'm sorry. I'm a busy lady and I want to give us my best quality content. And we'll go back next week with 2 90-minute episodes. Promise you guys that. But once again, stay safe. I hope you guys having a great and safe Memorial Day. I hope you enjoyed the first weekend of football games. We will be back next week to touch upon all of that, which is so exciting. Also, make sure to leave us a good review, guys. Subscribe to us on iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts. But yeah, stay safe, stay healthy. What are you guys doing for Labor Day? Any fun plans? I plan on being at the beach and like just relaxing again, social distance group with my 4 friends. Super chill, laid back, so gonna be a fun weekend, but thank you guys so much for tuning in today. As always, do not forget to leave us a review on iTunes and subscribe to us. It really helps us. Also, don't forget to follow us on our social medias on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, the whole shebang. And yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning into the GSMC College Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Danielle, and I'll be back on Thursday. Stay safe, you guys, and have a great night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts College Football Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From football to basketball, baseball to MMA, and even soccer. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts College Football Podcast.